So hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 273 and in this video we continue with our exercise, and like all time you should read the question, stop the video, try to answer the question as good as you can, and then start the video again and compare it with my answer. And like all time our goal is to understand the official CPP reference site here to get better and better and don't have to ask anyone. Alright, let's get started. Here's the first question. It says here, write a derived class example. So you should just write an easy example or how you like it. Anyway, pause the video and now I present you my answer. And here, I wrote here a very simple example. Actually, I even don't wrote it. I just copy paste it from the site, and you can see this is the copy paste from here. And the reason why I want to show you this one here is never write a code like this. And why you should not write a code like this, because again you see naming ABC is a no-go, and then no comments and so on. Alright, but I hope you wrote a good class with better namings and made all things right. But the important part here was derived class, how we can distinguish now that this is a derived class. And important is this one here. This is the signal or has a symbol where we see, yes, this is inheritance. And here we inheritance from the base, and here we inheritance from derived. Alright, that's very nice, and you can see we can use struct or class. And yeah, that was already for this question actually. So if you made something like this or even more complicated, the better. So you know how to use what it means derived class. Alright, so let's go to the next question here, which says is number 9. And it says here what means public, private, protected inheritance and how it works with your example. Okay, I go to my answer, and here is number 9. And of course you can describe this in different ways. There is not an absolute correct answer. What you should say is, first of all, what they are doing, right? So it defines an access mode from the base in the derived class. I think that was really bad description here, but what I mean is, let's go to our examples, and you should describe this in with our examples, and you can see that was this example here. Car uncomment again, control, yep. And how does this work? So first of all, you can see in my copy code here, there are no access specifiers. First of all, before we go to the access specifiers, which access specifiers actually? Because you have to remember we have two. The one is here in inheritance when we create a derived class, and another is here in the body. So that was the first thing what you have to remember. And then you have to remember, how does this work? So how does this work? So this one here is defining how the base, the parent one, is treated in the derived one. What I mean with that is, you can see here, for example, is an invisible public, which means all the parent access specifiers here should be inherited in a public way. And there was this special table. It's not too difficult. Public means here just inherit all like it was defined here on top. It was so without changes, it was public, then it will be here public, it was here private, then it will be here private, and it was here and so on. So that's very important. Then the next point is, if it's protected, then we know there is a little change, which means the public becomes protected. So let's say this would be protected here, then this one would become here public to protected. Protected stays protected. Private is anyway inaccessible. And if this is private, private means anyway you can't change anything. Stays all time private, private, private. And yeah, this is remember this table there. So that is the first thing. Then the next thing is, I think that's enough for this question. And okay, and then you should just test this with your own class. So I think that's enough for this one. All right, then let's go to the next one. It says here 10. What means virtual used in class declaration? First of all, let's watch our virtual class. I hope you already answered this question. I show you now here our virtual base class, and you can see in this example here in our this one here, inheritance part, we have this word virtual, and you can already see this can stay here in front or after. That's after the access specifier. That's also very interesting. But now the question was, what is the meaning of virtual here in inheritance? Because we know this word virtual will come later in member virtual functions as well, but this comes in another video. So in this case we are talking about class, and there was the special meaning, I hope you know it, that this both classes here who use the virtual specifier here, one time here and one time here, and they are deriving from the same base, are creating only one so they are sharing the base, which means they are not creating here separate bases. There is only one base here. All right, that's very important that you know this one. That was here this, and important is also when you read here a little bit more of these examples, you can see they are creating here the struct AA is inheriting from X, Y, and Z, but as Z, I mean X, Y is virtual, and Z is different. It's not virtual, it's just normal. So X and Y are creating here only one base. Z is creating its own base. That is this kind of stuff you should try to see and train a little bit. And then when we go here to this one here, to this little example, you can see xn is 1, and it says here modifies the virtual base sub object, and modifies here the same virtual base sub object because they share this, both share the same thing. And then zn, like I said, creates its own base, and that's why it's not modifying their sub object, and that's why we have here tutu3 as an output. And the tutu3 is means first it was 1 here, that was this one, but later this one was changed here to 2, and again sharing the same base means this one becomes now 2 as well, because they are sharing it after. So I hope you remember this one. That's very important to remember, because you can accidentally overwrite one value if you have a shared class. That's they are a little bit careful. All right, I think that's okay. Let's see what I wrote there. I wrote there nothing, I think. Yes, so let's write here share the same base. Of course it's a little bit longer, but yeah, you know, I described it a little bit what it is. So let's go to the next question, which is number 11, and it says here, let's watch this code here a little bit. Control uncomment, and it says here, is this code example correct? Here I provided you here in code example, and if not, why? So perhaps it is not correct and you have to figure out why, and you should look here especially in this part and describe what happens in this code. So I hope you paused the video and now you tried. Let's start with the easy question. Is this code example correct? The answer is yes, it is correct. It was just easy. And it says here, and if not, why? So we know if it's correct. So we don't have to describe why it's not correct, because it is correct. It is a little bit confusing about this one here probably, but now comes a little bit the more complicated question. Describe what happens in this code, and especially you should describe how this virtual works and what this one means. We have talked this in one of our tutorials. I hope you remember it. If not, no worry. I have just copied it from here. That is this one here. And here, when we create this object AA, you can see this one here. This is the last one, who inherits, and again, we make here double inheritance, and again public, but they are virtual, which means they are creating only one base again. And interesting is, like I said, what happens here with this base call, because here we make a in the body we call the base, and we learned there's something special. What was that? Let's say without virtual, you can call the base and it will execute the base, and that's good. But when you have virtual like here virtual, and then like here we inherit again from this both virtuals, and here you can see this constructor here is calling the base as well like them, but then it's calling X constructor and Y constructor. And the tricky part here is, what you have to know is, this constructor here and this constructor will not execute because of this one here, because we have here a problem. Again, remember the question before, this one and this one is virtual baby. It creates only one base, and then if we call now the constructor B here, or this other constructor B here, we would have a problem. And there was the special rule, if then inherits one, also if there is one more class, in this case a struct, who inherits from both, then his job is to create this base if it's called. You can see we are calling here B3, and this constructor call here and this constructor call here will be ignored. But careful, this one will be not ignored. Only this constructor call here. That was the tricky part here, because you can see we still call the constructors here. But again, this will be ignored and the body will still execute it. A little bit tricky, this one. And yeah, I hope you remember this one. Anyway, that was for that. And let's see. Yeah, that was this one. And so on. And here you can read a little bit this description here, which is describing this as well, what I try to explain you with this calling default constructors and so on. And here the default constructor is calls the constructor of B. This is X. What is that? Yeah, this one is calling here. That was that. So you can see here it's not calling this one, and in this example it is calling this one here, because we are calling it here just directly. We are not using the other inheritance. Okay, I hope if you go through this one you should understand. And like I said, our goal is really to understand this one here later. That's why I took just the examples here out again, and we have talked already about this one, so we repeat it here a little bit. And here are a little bit more in-depth public inheritance, what it means, protected inheritance, private inheritance. You can read this again. I think we don't have to go through these examples now. It's not too difficult. All right, with that said, I stop here this video. If you have any questions like old time, write in the comment section. See you in the next video. Bye, good luck, and like old time, have fun and never give up.